What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another video on the channel. And you know what? It's a unique opportunity when one Batman movie turns 30, but then another one turns 20 not too long after that. And this time we've got Steve here. So, like what you guys thought and saw from the title, this is Batman Begins 20 years later. God
Hold on, hold
damn.
on, hold on, hold on, hold on. I didn't have to suffer through watching Batman Forever and then not give my thoughts on this movie, bro.
Oh, okay.
Got
All
the
right.
So
All
thumbs
right.
up. Two thumbs up, Steve.
we'll get there. So first of
All right.
all, a pleasantly surprised moment. Val Kilmer was an awesome Batman slash Bruce Wayne. The only bad part about Val Kilmer in Batman Forever is the fact that he was saddled with these terrible, god awful lines he had to recite that really took the coolness out of him. But I was like,
Okay.
wow. I even said out loud to myself watching this damn movie, and I'm like, Kilmer's a pretty damn good Batman.
Right?
Yeah.
Like for real. Like, and the thing is like we were talking about it on our last episode. I don't think we ever got a bad actor as Batman. They just had shitty situations that they had to
Yeah.
work around or work with, right?
Yep.
So, but I mean, you know, beyond that, what else? What else did you find about upon rewatching this movie?
So you get Tommy Lee Jones, one of the best actors out there, that could
Yeah.
probably kill the Two-Face role.
Yep.
I don't know. Obviously, he didn't give a shit. It's clear everyone was trying to be the Joker in this movie, Carrie included. I just could have been a cool thing for him. Got a great actor to play Two-Face. Trash.
The funny
You're
Uh,
not.
thing is, though, I was gonna say the funny thing is, though, is I think I actually brought that up in our episode.
We yeah.
Where
We
okay.
we we don't. And
we
that's funny
felt
because it's like
yeah,
yeah.
we felt like off of Jack Nicholson's performance that like Tommy Lee Jones is like, okay, well, I gotta do that, but more. And it felt like Two-Face was more like uh like imagining or reiteration of Joker in a sense. So that's why he like I don't know if he just was told to overact because this is a kids movie, this is a comic book movie, this is larger than life type of movie. So you kind of gotta like overact. But like I've never seen, as far as I know, I haven't seen Tommy Lee Jones act in that way in any movie, I think.
No.
He's always kind of like stern and kind of like stoic.
Yep.
And this movie, he was just like he just overacted, and it was awful. It was really bad. I felt like it worked kind of for Jim Carrey's character being the Riddler. I felt like that kind of worked in a sense a little bit, but I thought for Tommy Lee Jones being Two-Face, it was way, 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 way out of the realm of what Two-Face actually is in comic books and in
Yep.
movies.
For
Yeah.
sure, man. And like there were a couple scenes that Jones had a glimmer of hope and then went right into the camp. I'm like, oh, you know what I mean? Like there was some cool parts where he was getting violent, which is a weird
Yes.
thing to say, but it kind of came out of him a little bit and then it was reeled back in really quickly. So
Well, that's the thing is, I mean, we kind of we talked about this in the last video too. For those of you who watched the last video, but the thing is like you kind of still like if you take that kind of silly or overacting performance out, then you lose on some of the good bits, like how he was in the circus part. I thought that that was kind of like again he was over the top, but he was also diabolical.
mm,
you're talking about the violent parts with that stuff, or even like when freaking the Riddler gets to his thing, he's like, heads, we accept your proposition, tails, we blow your goddamn head off, or whatever. It's like that's a Two-Face thing to say,
right.
technically.
Yeah.
Or even at the end where he's like, you have
Throwing
to
the
flip.
coins.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's like, you have to flip. He's like, very true, Bruce. You've always been a good friend, So that's kind of again glimmers of hope
Yep.
and flips the coin, and then he gets all messed up because he tosses all of them up, and it's like, god damn. So, but
Hmm.
yeah, it's that was so over the top. And to Ricardo's point, Jim's over the topness is how he is. That's just how Jim Carrey is, but it works for
Whoa.
the Riddler to a certain degree.
To an extent, this is like
Yes.
this makes Ace Ventura look like Shakespeare. He is like on crack. Like he is all over the place. Like it's no wonder that he annoyed Tommy Lee Jones on set because obviously that was the rumors that they hated each other.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can see it, man. And something else I didn't want to see is a damn outline of Jim Carrey's stupid penis in that jumpsuit. I was like, wow, why did I not see this before? Maybe I blocked it out as a bad memory, but
Well,
it was rough.
HDTVs, you see everything
Oh
now. I'm surprised you're not saying
God.
anything about Robin's cod piece being fucking immense and huge,
At
because
least it's
apparently that was a
hard rubber
thing.
plastic. I know that's just a lycra bodysuit on Jim Carrey's junk. And he's got a profile shot, and all I see is his little bulge.
Like
Well,
just
Steve,
the
Steve,
hip thrusts.
let me ask you a question, Steve.
Yeah.
How do you feel about his? I feel like they let him riff when they got to destroy the Batcave. Did you feel like Jim Carrey was like okay in that at least?
What scene did he not get was he not let riff to riff?
I
Okay,
felt like
pretty much
I
the
felt like
entire
it
movie.
was more Jim Carrey in that scene. Like they let him do like what he
They
wanted
did.
to do in
Yeah.
that scene. I felt like to me, I felt like that worked. And that was more memorable from me. Like going back again when we had the episode, I went back to basically when I was a kid. Obviously,
Mm,
seeing it now, it's not the best movie, but
no.
Spoiler,
like
Steve. We gave it 2.5 stars. Just
yeah,
to
two
let
and
you
a
know,
half
we gave it
stars.
2.5 out of 5. But when we
It's a
watched it, it was
solid
like
watch.
three and a
Like
half out of five.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And my thing is like I agreed with you, like where I felt like, and I think also too, Jordan felt the same way. Like Val Kilmer he was actually a really good Batman. Like
Yeah.
especially taking over after Keaton. Like I thought
Mm,
he was like a really good like Bruce Wayne too. His Bruce Wayne was actually really good. He's
yep.
really like intelligent, smart, kind of had a little bit of putting pieces together when it comes to the riddles.
Mhm.
And even his Batman wasn't bad.
No.
Say I don't think he was like he's not like a tough guy. Same thing too with like Keys. He's not really a tough guy, but
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Very stoic.
with what
Exactly.
he had to work with, I thought he had to do obviously he had to do a good job. It's just the Tommy Lee Jones part of Batman Forever was just awful.
Hmm.
And man, Schumacher's fascination with bright neon colors, brother. Holy crap. Hey,
Well,
let me get this
well.
car that's supposed to be secretive driving through the city. Let me put every freaking neon light possible inside of the chassis of this car.
So that's the funny thing, Steve. And
Yeah.
again, go to the last episode for anybody who hasn't seen it. But Ricardo was looking at some of these tidbits about the Schumacher cut. Apparently,
Hmm.
Schumacher didn't really do the neon stuff at
Oh,
first. I
Yeah,
mean, the Batmobile is the Batmobile. It was
yeah.
designed to be that way, and it's got the blue lights and everything. It's like it literally is like an H.R. Geiger like design or whatever. It looks like the alien like rib cage and stuff, pretty
Mm-hmm.
much. But apparently a lot of the stuff that was in the original cut really wasn't like this whole neon BS and stuff.
yeah,
That those are apparently, choices after, because again, they wanted to move so far from the dark aspect that like, Tim Burton had in the previous Batmans and stuff like that, which again, you were looking at IMDb and some other spots, right, Ricardo? So it really is interesting because, and that's the thing too, Joel Schumacher, although people give him a lot of shit for this movie and Batman and Robin, I mean, he's known for other movies that are really like cult and dark and kind of fascinating, like
mhm,
The Lost Boys, Phone Booth. I mean,
Oh,
A
true.
Time to
Yeah.
Kill. He's done like a
Yeah.
bunch of different movies
yeah,
that are not tonally like this. I mean, obviously, when we look at the behind the scenes stuff for like Batman and Robin, for instance, he's like saying, like, even Chris O'Donnell was like, he was on a blowhorn, like, come on, guys, we're making a toy commercial. And again, it's probably where all these brightly lit flourishes and all this other
Yeah.
stuff kind of came in. Although the Schumacher cut might have been a rough cut before they decided like to follow through and film the special effects pieces with all these like gigantic like Atlas shrugged like Greek Greco freaking statues across like Gotham, and like we were taking a second or two to acknowledge is like this Gotham is so vast, and you actually get to see it more than you did in Batman and Batman
Right.
Returns. You're in a dark alley, or you're in like a bell tower, or you're in like a one open street for like the parade and stuff. You're not seeing like these sprawling big like chase sequences and all this and this stuff. You're not seeing the verticality of like Gotham and stuff per se. You're just
yeah.
seeing kind of like the landscape, and that's about it. This one, you're
Right.
actually up in the city, and the city is actually coming to life a little bit more. Um,
Well, I'm in
so
this. Not. I agree with you guys. 2.5 stars, maybe. It's obviously a kids movie, and obviously it's not made for adults.
well, I don't know.
Shout
I
out.
mean, Nicole Kidman was coming pretty hard
You know
at
what? That
Al
lady
filming
has scarred
Batman.
me for life. Going to AMC theaters and seeing her dumbass. Oh, we make movies better. We, me and my girl are like, oh, this bitch again.
Yeah.
Uh,
see the movies they were meant to be seen
Oh my
as. And
god, get off my screen.
she's
Play the
pretending to
movie.
chew on a piece of popcorn. Her face isn't even moving. All the Botox.
I actually got that.
Last thought is shout out to Drew Barrymore in this movie. I forgot she was in it.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
And you know, we actually mentioned that too, how like the cast that they got for this
Yeah.
movie was like pretty
Star-studded.
it's pretty
Yeah.
star-studded. And
Yeah.
I
Right.
felt like it was like more like Hollywood. It was more Hollywood than
This was a
anything.
Hollywood baby right here. Batman and Batman Returns was Tim Burton's and shit. This was a Hollywood baby right here.
For real.
And I
Yep.
felt like also too, just like obviously the the love story, I guess, between like Batman and um what's her face? Nicole Kidman's character.
Chase Meridian.
Chase Meridian. I felt like it felt like a little like LA Noirish type
Horny.
thing, or no, it just had like a noir
Ma'am, are
type
you
feel
coming on to me? Yeah.
Batman's like, she's like, come to my place. And he's like, yeah, I'll be there.
It's the car. Chicks take the car.
Anyway.
The bat signal is not a beeper, Dr.
I mean,
Meridian.
there were some saving graces in the movie, and obviously, like again, it's not the perfect movie, it's not
No.
the perfect movie, but I mean, I grew up because I mean, like I was telling Jordan in the last episode how, I mean, I remember obviously like Batman Returns more than I remember the first Batman, but I mean, this coming out in '95, being a kid of the '90s.
Clear visual. Like this was
Yeah.
the
This
Batman
is
that
the
we
one
watched
this is
most.
my Batman. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying he's the best Batman. I'm not saying it's the best Bat movie. But this was like my Batman compared to some other people who obviously who love Michael Keaton and that version of Batman. This is the one that I go back to and I remember because we talked about how like the soundtrack of Batman Forever,
Yeah.
you know,
Yep.
you
That
can't go
soundtrack,
wrong with
man.
Seal and Kiss, Kiss from a Rose, where like that movie and that song is synonymous and they're both like
It's
intertwined
inseparable.
with each other. You know what I mean? So like you can never forget
Yep.
it. But that's enough on that though. I feel like
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Thank
If
you.
you want more on that, guys.
Yeah.
If
Thank you
want
for the
more on
2
that,
cents.
guys. Yeah,
that's
go check it out. But
bonus content for Batman Forever.
exactly. Thank you for that preamble, sir.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a good movie.
Yes, let's talk about. But before we talk about, honestly, like my favorite Batman and a Batman Renaissance and a superhero Renaissance, really, if you will, in my opinion. Take that for what it's worth. We have to go back to 1997 with Batman and Robin.
Yikes.
The movie that killed the franchise. And again, because Joel Schumacher and company were making a goddamn toy commercial. You thought the last one was all brightly lit and neon and corny as shit. Well, guess what? We got Arnold Schwarzenegger making bad ice puns. We got a pre-peak Uma Thurman, doing her Mother
God,
Nature
I forgot
bullshit.
about that.
We've got a bad Bane who comes off more like this big oaf idiot. And then you got like this like just convoluted thing going on with like Alfred all of a sudden being sick. And we get the same Robin in a nice badass updated suit, which kind of invokes some Nightwing style. But then we've got George Clooney again. Not a bad casting for Batman if you look at his credentials and what he's done now and the Oscar worthiness of his acting.
Seems like I don't know about
But
that.
when you watch
hold
it,
on. I'm confused. Are we doing Batman and Robin?
we're not. But I'm painting the picture
Oh, okay.
here. I got to paint the
I was
picture
like,
here.
did I watch the wrong movie?
No, you didn't. I said before we talk about a good one,
Okay,
we're going to
okay,
talk
okay.
about, So
Jordan,
don't worry.
Jordan,
I'm getting.
you gotta clip that though, because Steve goes like this.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
going to
like,
do that.
I'm like, watch it. I'm
gonna,
like, look up the date release. Like, shoot, did I screw up?
I'm gonna zoom into your face while it's going on. Hold up, like a
Please
record
don't do
skip
that.
or whatever.
That's hilarious.
But the thing is that George Clooney was casted even, and we know him to be a very good
He was
actor.
hot then. He was at the peak of his ER success. A lot of movies.
He was,
Yep.
He was still on ER. He was coming into the movies. This is what I think this was like 4 years or 3 or 4 years before Ocean's 11 too, which really catapulted him even more into the stratosphere.
What's that vampire movie?
From Dusk Till Dawn.
From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah. That was
pretty
good too.
I actually think he was in a movie with Nicole Kidman. I think it's The Peacemaker. I think that was an action movie that he did. He did a movie with J-Lo called Out of Sight. He was in odd and end things. This was like his first superhero like attempt or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it should have and could have gone better. Unfortunately, it didn't. Next thing we know, the franchise is dead because everyone was sick of Batman shit at this point.
Too many charges on the Bat card.
Never leave home without it.
Never leave home without it.
but if that was the lowest of the Batman like films, then we got probably the peak, the highest. Like we got it brought back to new heights, as it were, because after about 8 years of nothing on the big screen for Batman, no words, no nothing, there was some rumblings about Darren Aronofsky doing a Batman Year One take, and then that fell
Remember that?
through. And then what happened? And the thing is this is like I used to read Wizard magazine, but I was really not like on the up and up on this stuff. I didn't hear about all this stuff like that. And Wizard magazine, I loved Wizard magazine because they always had the scoop of all like the movies and stuff too whenever they were coming up. But the thing is that Christopher Nolan, this new brand new hot director who just did Memento and stuff like that, and then I think he did Insomnia too.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden he gets picked to do Batman, and it's like, okay, what's going on here? You know, and then you get David S. Goyer, who gave us like one of the best like comic book adaptations ever in Blade One.
Oh, such a
Like
good movie.
and stuff. And then he's like credited with having done so many writings of like different comic book things over the years that have been really peak and everything. And then we end up getting this trailer, which I never shut up about in the last like few videos we've done. I know I'm a broken record. This random trailer comes in the theaters when I forget which movie I went to see, whether it was Spider-Man 2 or whatever. I don't know, whichever movie it was. But it comes on and there's just like the sound of bats going through, and then you can barely make out like a bat symbol in the middle of the screen. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden it cuts to the prison where Christian Bale is and stuff, and then it's Liam Neeson, and he's like, the world is far too small for someone like you to disappear, Mr. Wayne. And then I'm like, oh shit! And then it goes into like all these like highlights of the different things that we're going to be teased with and see, like him doing, as we would come to find, his training, his ninja stuff, and then all of a sudden the Batman coming through and stuff, and it's like the hype was real, but then actually seeing it in the theaters was a whole different experience because up until this point, a Batman movie never looked like this. Never had this type of atmosphere. It never had this
No.
type of visual kind
No.
of cinematography and everything. No offense to Batman and Batman Returns and everything,
No,
but
it's
this
a
was
different
like
movie.
a
Yeah.
whole new scope, and it was much wider and more like worldly. And the thing is that this is the definitive origin story. Not that it didn't make some changes, but the
Yeah.
thing is this was the definitive origin story, and also the definitive Batman story as far as I'm concerned, because it adapts Year One. It's truly giving you Bruce Wayne into coming into his own as Batman, and we've got the most Batman screen time, or it feels like it to me. And
Oh,
he's
for
the
sure.
main goddamn character of his own movie. Imagine that.
Well, that's the problem with Batman. The Batman is cool because of his rogues gallery, not just Batman himself.
Well, and
Come
that's
on,
the
who
thing.
has a more iconic rogues gallery than Batman?
James Bond.
Spider-Man.
Comic books.
Oh,
Spider-Man is close,
Spider-Man.
but Spider-Man shares so many villains with other Marvel heroes. So,
Yeah.
This is
I mean, you
true.
can say that with every Marvel hero, pretty much.
This is true. This is true. And some cross pollinate in DC, but not as much. So
Yeah.
good point. But to that point, like a Bond movie, this one like has like that kind of sleek kind of
Yep.
stylishness, and he's kind of very suave. He's got all these cool gadgets and stuff like that. He kind of goes through, and it's almost like you're seeing him with Lucius, and he's kind of like James Bond with M, getting all the toys and the gadgets,
Dude,
the tumbler,
how cool
the
is Morgan
Batsuit, all that
Freeman,
stuff.
dude? I love that man. He
He's
is
awesome.
so good at all three of these Nolan movies, man.
Yep,
Ah, and
he's fantastic.
Bale and him bouncing off each other in all these movies are just my favorite scenes in each one of the movies. It's
Well,
crazy.
that's him and Bale. What about Michael Caine and Bale? That's another great
Never.
thing right there.
The size
So,
of a tangerine.
Alfred,
Dude, Michael Caine is the man.
Yeah.
Right?
Just as much as Morgan Freeman is the man, Michael Caine, again, your
Yep.
great point. Him and Bale
I-
bouncing off each other, amazing. Absolutely,
Well,
every
and-
scene.
and-
I felt sorry, cut you out, guys.
Go, no, it's fine.
I feel like the majority of like the casting in the movie, it all worked. Obviously, are we gonna call him Ra's al Ghul or Ra's al Ghul? But
Okay, this is my beef moment right here. It's
Okay.
Ra's al Ghul, and we have fucked it up since this movie. Denny O'Neil, the writer and creator of some of the best Batman stories, and the creator of Ra's al Ghul, which he was also mentioned in the animated series as Ra's al Ghul, is Ra's al Ghul.
Was it Raz
Why-
in this
why-
animated series?
Ra's
No,
al
it was
Ghul.
Ra's. It
No,
was
Really?
Ra's in the
it's
animated
Ra's al
series.
Ghul, but they called him Ra's al Ghul.
From this movie on, they kept on calling him Raz, and it It
Hmm.
pisses me off to no end. I'm like, God damn it, man! The creator calls him Raish. Why are we doing this? Like from
Yeah.
this to Arrow to all like the Nolans, and I'm like, motherfucker, God damn it.
But I
Um,
mean, going back to the cast, I just felt like the casting of this movie, it
mhm.
all worked. Even to like I'm reading on IMDb saying that Gary Oldman signed on, not even reading the script, he just signed on because if
It's not.
he knew of like Christopher Nolan's work. Obviously, Christian Bale being Batman, you have Lucius, Morgan Freeman, obviously Michael Caine being Alfred. I would say like my only gripe would probably maybe, which I don't think she was that bad either. Katie Holmes is
I
Rachel.
don't think so
I
either.
don't think
I
she
don't
was
think.
that bad. I
I thought
actually
she was good.
liked her. I actually
The
liked
only
her.
Yeah.
thing about Katie Holmes is she looks like she's 12. She's a great actor.
No, 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 no.
Dude.
Don't
So
say
when I
that.
first saw this movie, that was one of my sticking points. And you're gonna see as we discuss this movie, this has now become my favorite Batman Nolan movie.
Yeah, I felt
Uh,
like yeah, she was kind of young, but also too like Bruce. We got to remember too, Bruce is young. Like Bruce
Yeah,
when he goes off
that's
and goes
true, I
off to
guess.
find
Yeah,
Rach, like he has
yeah,
that stupid like his bangs are out or whatever. He has
his
like
emo
yeah.
look. Yeah,
Hey, at
a
least they didn't do the thing where they just have a backwards hat on them, like in the Saw
yeah.
movies or whatever, because they've done that stupid stuff to make
So
people look
I'm
younger.
thinking like Bruce is probably like somewhere like in his early 20s or mid 20s, if anything. So he's really young.
Yeah,
But
I think in the year one story, which this is adapted from, I want to say mid to late 20s. Yeah.
right. So I mean, again, she doesn't bother. I think she's actually like a really great
yeah.
actress. So I felt like across the board, everybody was casted the way they should have been casted. And going back to I think what Jordan brought up a little bit too is just that Nolan brought realism to a comic book movie, and I don't think we've ever seen that.
Hmm.
And the thing is too is that I mean
Good stuff.
comic book movies like X-Men was really good. You have X2 that came out. You
Yep.
have Spider-Man, and Spider-Man 2 is like probably one of my favorite comic movies
Oh
of
yeah.
Yeah.
all time. But this was something that we haven't seen at all was the realist like things
Hmm.
that actually made sense
Yep.
in a comic book movie, and we didn't see that. And again, too, you brought up how the fact of how this is movie centered strictly on Batman, not just on Ra's al Ghul or Cillian Murphy being Scarecrow. Like it was
Well,
strictly
think
on
about it, guys.
yeah,
Batman is the focal point. If you had the board, he's in the middle, and everyone's got the red lines going to them. Everything
Yep.
happens and everything interacts, and there's a
yeah,
synergy in this movie that
yeah,
is sorely missed in every other Batman movie that we've got. Because Batman is not the center of the board, which I
No.
hate to see because he should be. Because Batman and Bruce Wayne, there should be a story being driven, obviously, but they should be maybe not in the driver's seat, but at least in the passenger seat with like a lot of coverage because it's their movie.
yeah.
But
And
Right.
I feel like for this movie you had no choice but to.
Of course.
You couldn't just have like, oh, Scarecrow's the main villain and or Ra's al Ghul is like the the side villain. Like you
mm-hmm.
needed to focus on Bruce and Batman, who these two
which
characters are,
which
and
would which
yeah,
tell
what
me this too. Sorry to cut you off,
are you
Ricardo.
good?
Tell me that twist wasn't the fucking best twist ever.
Oh
Like
no,
I thought that he was just a new character. I thought he was literally Ducard, and I was a little upset because Ken Watanabe is the fake race at the beginning, and he's a really good actor too. And I'm like, oh, they just wasted him. What the fuck? What like?
yeah,
But
yeah,
the thing is that they paid it off later in the movie because it was really him. And I'm like, shit, that actually makes more sense anyway. He's actually more like Ra's from the cartoons and stuff.
right. And I like the fact too that he went with Ra's al Ghul because obviously not that many people, everybody knows Penguin and Joker and Riddler and
Yes,
Mr. Freeze. You know, all these
every villain
people.
in this hadn't been seen on the screen before.
Exactly.
Definitely.
And I think, sorry, excuse me. And I think what Nolan did, choosing these two, choosing Scarecrow and choosing Ra's al Ghul, like I think it was perfect because again, nobody knows these characters. So it's like I can do whatever I want with them in a sense. And having that twist is something that a lot of audiences, especially consumers, aren't gonna really know or see. So they're gonna be surprised too as well at the end, compared to some people who read the comic books. You see, you see Ducard or you see Ra's al Ghul,
Yep.
just he has a goatee, his hair and everything like that. You know who that is if you're really into the comics, but for like a regular moviegoer, you're not really gonna know that. So I think Nolan that was a smart decision on his end. But
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense too because all of Nolan's movies are primarily like psychological based.
Yep.
yep.
So it makes sense to have these characters try to outsmart him or
Mm.
in Scarecrow's case,
Yep.
chemically induce him.
Well, that's it's funny you bring that up because there is a psychological aspect. By you're picking Scarecrow because there is a psychological aspect, and even with the visuals in this too, like just the way that it is when they're induced with the chemicals, with that even
Mm,
with that raw blue flower, like all the like the trembling and shaking and kind of the fear being heightened, and Bruce as he's going through his trials and everything like that. So Nolan was definitely sticking to his kind of niche, which was that psychological thriller and everything,
mhm,
but just the fact that he pulled in the reins a tiny bit, but also he ended up bringing us like again delivering us this Batman movie that fans have wanted for such a long time, and they adapted year one so perfectly. Let's run down this because we're only mentioning Ra's al Ghul, League of Shadows, and Scarecrow, but don't forget Zaz was in this movie too.
yep.
Yeah.
Reference there.
Falcone was
Yep.
in this movie too.
Hmm.
Um, you know, Detective Flass, the corrupt PD members, again, from Batman Year One. We're seeing all of this like whole big world, and it's not even feeling crammed or anything because I don't know, it's just the way that they're delivering all these characters and their roles and how that's being presented is perfect. And then you're giving us the story where we're starting at the onset, right at the beginning of everything. You're getting this picture of Bruce, kind of through flashbacks while he's in prison. Um, you know, his kind of we're seeing him in prison overseas. What's going on? What's happening? Oh, couldn't they kill me before breakfast? You know, and then he takes down like, oh, you little man, and I am the devil. You're not the devil. You're practice. And he takes down like 6 or 7 people and shit like that, like
I love the
this.
guard's line here. He goes,
I
"I'm
don't need
solitary. I don't
protection.
need protection from them. No, protection from you." I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then again, he gets that proposition from Ducard, goes, picks the flower, goes to the temple, and he's exhausted. He's like, I seek the means to fight injustice. Okay, and now you're ready. I can barely stand. And then he's like, death does not wait. Death is not fair. And then he just kind of goes into his like different martial arts and stuff. And that's another thing too.
That was
This
cool.
movie had the best choreography because they actually paid attention to it out of all the films. Like,
Yeah, in the
there's a
beginning.
no, I think that they did, at least for framing wise too. They might have dipped a little bit, but even
Here's
still,
my problem. So this was the era of the shaky cam fight scene,
yeah.
and towards the middle to the latter half of this movie, it's like all shaky cam fight scene.
Yeah. I blame
Okay,
the Born
Yes, I love the
Supremacy.
Born
Now,
Identity movies,
Born
but
Ultimatum.
they're the blame for this for sure.
The
because
Born Ultimatum was the worst. We watched that in the theater, me and my dad, and I'm like, I can't even fucking tell what's going on here.
Yeah.
Like, I really couldn't because it was like they
Yep.
wouldn't stop. But then even the Bourne Legacy had a better steady cam and they had cool action. And then even the newest one, Jason Bourne, was awesome, and they didn't do all this
Oh, that
bullshit.
movie was terrible.
yeah, Jason
Well,
Bourne was It was okay. It wasn't
Yeah.
bad. It wasn't bad. It was better than like Born Legacy felt like the first movie. So I'm like, what are you guys doing? I
well, makes
out of
sense.
all of them, I thought Born
Right.
Identity was probably the best one in my
Oh, for
opinion.
sure.
Yeah.
Supremacy wasn't bad story wise, just that they went from different. It went from I think it went from was it Doug
Think
Lyman
Lyman.
or
Yeah.
Lyman who did the first Born Identity. Then it went to
Mhm.
Paul Greengrass who did
Yeah.
Supremacy and Ultimatum, and then he did that was a Green Zone movie, and
Yeah. Folks,
it was all shaky cam, and
yeah,
I
that was
hated
like
it.
yeah, I
Even
think
though I
when we
thought
got into the
like,
Greengrass.
Supremacy's not bad, Ultimatum's not bad either. It's just the shaky cam sucked.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyways, back to Batman Begins.
Jesus Christ, that's Jason Bourne. The meme. No, but you're absolutely right. So I will give you that the shaky cam and everything. But the thing is like it's supposed to be that way when you're fighting Batman. It's like I don't even know what the fuck's going on, but he's just taking people out. But take a look at Dark Knight, where he's literally just going like this and waiting for like a bad. He's like it's like the worst wrestling botches you'll ever seen is in the Dark Knight and in fucking the Dark Knight Rises. Go back when we go back and rewatch those eventually, because I know we will. Trust those ones are much worse than these fight scenes. So they did end up doing some good choreography in this. And yeah, shaky cam, but it works for Batman just taking people out at a moment's notice, as it were. And again, it's not as bad as like Paul Greengrass Born
No,
movies.
definitely not.
Um, so we're going through all this stuff, and the thing is that this Batman is almost like those missing scriptures, if you will. Not to get like religious over here, but it's like those missing time periods of like, what the fuck did Bruce do from this age to this age? Like, oh, we know he became smart and he did all these things or whatever, but we actually see what he did. Like, and the thing is too is like the death of his parents. You get to know his parents more. His father was a a renowned surgeon, and his mother, I forget what his mother did, and she, to be honest, I don't think she did too much. She was probably a little more philanthropic, like charity work and all that other stuff, if I remember correctly. Um, they ended up donating to get the T into the city, the commuter rail and everything. They're trying to help. I mean, pretty
Local,
much that's what it is.
reference, guys.
Right, local reference for all
Yeah.
you New England heads. Yep, exactly. But the thing is that they were, they're philanthropists. They're people that are trying to do good with their wealth and trying to like be considerate and trying to do all these things or whatever. But the thing is that they go to this play instead of a movie, like in the original continuity of Batman and comics and everything. And it's like he's got this fear of bats because he fell down the well and all this other stuff. So he's getting like anxiety and everything. It's all adding, again, synergistic. Like all these things are adding into like the origin story and how he has to become a bat almost to share his dread with people, you know. But just to see his parents kind of get gunned down, which I want to take a sidebar here. I don't have a problem with seeing Bruce Wayne's parents get killed for the 50 millionth time, or Uncle Ben getting killed for the 50 millionth time, as long as it's like a new context. There's a new spin on it. Like if we're just going to do the same rinse, wash, and repeat, then there's no point. We could just start later on. But the thing
I
is
think what
like,
saves this is the fact that it skips around throughout the beginning of the movie. We're
Right.
not forced to watch the beginning of Bruce Wayne's arc, in every single
well,
movie.
true. But like for example, like seeing the parents get gunned down in Batman v Superman versus this one, that was more savage, and that was like kind of the context of why he's just doesn't give a shit anymore, and he wants to kill and do all this stuff. So again, that's why I don't mind seeing something being reinterpreted or told again, because you want to set that tone, and that's like the focal point of him being how messed up he is up here. Just like in this one, again, tonality, the way that it was, and they brought Joe Chill in, which you got to give kudos to them actually being faithful to that stuff.
Yeah.
And instead of a movie, it was a play, and then there was a whole bunch of bats and all this other stuff getting him anxious. And again, it just contributes. And then right there, we're starting to see the little seeds being sprinkled in. We're seeing the young Gordon being on the force, giving him the coat. But the thing is that, seeing that stuff, and then seeing when he becomes a young man, like late teens, he's got a gun. He wants to gun this guy down in the courthouse or whatever. Are you fucking kidding me? Bruce Wayne? Bruce Wayne wants to gun this guy down in cold blood in that manner. Batman. Wow. Like, that was a big thing for me, too. Because he's so apathetic. And it takes that happening. And then Rachel
two
just
slaps from
driving
Katie
him down.
Holmes.
Two. Count them, 2 slaps.
She laid into them slaps, boy.
He did. And he was
I
just
don't think he was prepared for the second one, honestly. He looked like kind of surprised. Anyway.
When the director yelled cut, he's like, "Don't you fucking touch me!" No, Christian Bale's crazy like that.
What was it? Terminator? Salvation?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing?
The thing about Bale is like you can tell he's a horrific asshole, but he's a great actor.
Yep. True that. But yeah, and then it just begins this journey of him going through becoming a criminal, seeing what the rationale is for all this stuff, seeing how it is, and then him eventually being led to the League of Shadows, going through all these trials and tribulations, kind of having the surrogate father figure in Ducard and learning how to do all these things, become a wraith in people's minds and all that other stuff, theatricality and deception, again, really harping in on the tones, and then seeing all his things where he's on those little poles, keeping his balance and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And then when it comes down to it, he rests on his laurels. He's like handing him the sword. He's like, I will go back to Gotham and fight men like this, but I will not kill him. He's like, please, Bruce, you must do this, And then all of a sudden, flipping the hot iron into the side of the building, and then everything's blowing up and whatnot. I mean, and then he saves the man, and then he ends up going back to Gotham, like in that same breath. Which again, it's like that whole like first, what was it, like 30-40 minutes of the movie. We've got that crash course. Like we know where Bruce has been. We know what's going on. And then we start the real fun. This is where the real fun begins because he's coming back to Gotham. He's doing all this like spying on all the key players, getting to know all everyone.
You passed Michael Caine's hilarious line when he picks him up in the private jet.
Oh, you do the honors for me, sir.
I forget how it goes, honestly, but the one that like it was funny you talk about. Oh, nice wardrobe, and Bruce like, oh, you don't like it? And he's like, the bag throws it off, something like that.
don't know, man. But it's funny. He's
Yeah.
like, legally, you've been declared dead, sir. Oh well, thanks so much for the faith, Alfred, or
Oh,
whatever it is.
here's the only minor thing I'll go against this movie. It was glaringly obvious. There's a lot of expedition dumps by the characters, catching the audience up to
Yes.
speed a lot.
Yep.
It's done in a way where these are great actors. They inject some humor in there sometimes to really offset. Like, here's information. Here's a little gag at the end. You know what I mean?
Mr. Earl.
Yeah. So they talk about how you were kind of leading into there, or Michael Caine's talking to Bale about how everything's left to him because they thought Bruce was dead. So that way, whoever's running Wayne Enterprises, I forget the guy's name,
Yep.
doesn't take over the entire company. So
Mr. Earl. And I'll say this: the worst part of the exposition was the guy at the end explaining what's going to happen when the train reaches the middle of the thing, and it's gonna blow. And I'm like,
it's gonna blow, and then the kingdom come.
Evacuate everybody. It's all gonna blow in 10 minutes. I'm like, okay, we get it. It's a Resident Evil.
I swear, I thought he was the the detective in Dark Knight, the bad one. I was like, is it the same guy? I'm like, no, it's not.
No.
Question for you guys though. Now that Bruce, got picked up and he's back in Gotham, because like he basically plays like he's like three different people if you think about it. He's the Playboy Bruce Wayne, then you have Bruce Wayne
Mask,
and then after that you have obviously Batman.
Yep.
Did you guys like the fact that they added like a Playboy Bruce Wayne like in this type of like reality, and obviously that's his mask of who he isn't in a sense in Batman Begins, rather than just like kind of like again like how like all the other previous Batmans played, they were like
already kind of doing the Playboy stuff already on the side by then.
Yeah, kind of, but it was more like philanthropic.
Yeah. Well, to your point, Batman and Robin, he shows up with his girlfriend to the observatory or whatever for like looking at the stars and shit that Mr. Freeze ends up doing some shit with, or he shows up in Batman Forever to that fundraiser at the Enigma Corp or whatever. Right. But I think absolutely, because he's fucking around with all this money. He's bringing two chicks on both hip to a little dinner party he's not really engaged with. I mean, I kind of joked. I feel like people would have thought that he was overcompensating more than he would be Batman. Like, what? Him? He's Batman? Please, this guy right here.
No, exactly. It's exactly the reason.
Yep. And it works out great. But even to your point, he wakes up after a late night of running around in his mech suit or whatever it is, still made of rubber somehow, latex. But then he's like, if that's the first of many bruises to be, you might want to take up a hobby like polo. And he's like, I'm not learning polo, Alfred. And then he gets up and does like 20 fucking push-ups or 50 push-ups after downing
from a standing and shake. Falling to the floor. Oh, so cool.
I can watch these two. Those bloody push-ups, but you can't lift the bloody log.
Oh my god, what a bird! And Fails look at him like, brother,
he's
really?
He's like, what? Seriously,
dude, I could watch these two talk to each other for 2 hours. It's very engaging.
Well, it's the humor, it's the heart between them too. Because when he's talking about it, like even when he's back, he's like, if this is a mausoleum. If I had my way, I'd have this whole thing broken down brick by brick. This is not just your name. This is your father's name. It's like whenever he needs a solid, stern like father figure talking to, but also when he needs someone to be like snidely remarking, he's like, well, to disguise anything, we'll need to buy these in bulk. Well, we'll have spares,
10,000 pieces.
Exactly. Or again, like the log comment and shit like that. Or when he's really serious and concerned, he's talking about, he's like, I thought you said that when you did this was to protect the city and not to get your kicks or whatever. And he's like, yes, that's right, Alfred. What's that? Damn good television. And he's walking away and stuff like that. Bruce Wayne has guests out there. I don't give a damn about these people, Alfred. Tell them to go home. I need to speak with Lucius. Like, it's like, again, or the reminding part, like when the whole thing is blowing up and he's going down into the elevator. My God, Alfred, what have I done? I just wanted to save Gotham. And he's just like,
why do we fall, Bruce, Master Wayne?
To pick ourselves back up. And again, the rhyme, the reminder, haven't given up on me yet. Never.
Dude, I was dying. I was like, dude, he leaned into that so hard. It was so great. Never.
That was probably take
20. It was almost like his villain arc right there. Like, damn, bro, relax.
Flaring nostrils.
Yeah. The scene that always gets to me though is that um when Bruce goes to the hotel with all the girls and then they go to the
Mm-hmm.
pool and then like the
Yeah.
well, I don't know if it was like the hotel or I don't know who it was, the manager.
Probably
It's
the
like,
manager. Yeah.
I want to buy the hotel. This is my hotel now, so I can do
Sir,
whatever
I'm
I
gonna have
want.
Right.
you asked you to leave. Your
Yeah.
friends are in the pool.
Well, I'm buying this hotel, and I'm gonna have a little
It's not
bit of
about
a
money. No, you
about
don't
yeah.
understand. I'm buying this hotel. We're
I'm
gonna
gonna
change some rules around here about the
Right.
about the
swimming
pool
arrangements or
area.
something. Yeah,
But
the pool area. That's what he said. Yeah.
I thought the one thing that like always stuck out to me is when Rachel, you know, bumps into him and then he said, "Hey, Rachel, all of this, it's not
It's not me.
me. It's not
Yeah.
me. It's inside I am, I am more." When he
Hmm.
says that to her, I felt like, and then she comes up with the line, which is like I think that's like one of the best lines
Yeah.
I think throughout this whole entire like
Yeah.
series is geez.
I got it. I got it. You want me to do
Yeah.
it? All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, go ahead.
It's
You can
not
do it.
who I.
It's not, yeah,
It's
it's
not
not
who I am
who I am
underneath.
underneath,
It's
but
what I
what
do that defines
defines
me.
me. Yeah. Well, she says it's not who you are underneath, it's what you do that defines you. But
Right.
same thing.
And pause really quick. Tell me that scene with the music and everything, which kudos to Hans Zimmer, did an awesome thing. Brand new stuff for themes and intensity. But tell me in that scene, it didn't feel like a Spider-Man 2 instance where Toby was will he won't he with Mary Jane. That's kind of the same vibe I was getting in those scenes with him and Rachel like
Well,
that.
this goes. I think it was you or Ricardo that just said this about the three personalities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good acting here. Like Bale really nails it. He does the Playboy gimmick, and then he sees Rachel and he snaps out of it, and he's himself.
Yep.
Right.
So you can
Right.
clearly see that.
Yeah,
The
the real
defenses are
move.
lowered.
Right.
But I also felt like that's kind of like a Spider-Man thing too. With
Hmm.
great power comes great responsibility. I felt like even though that's not the case for Batman, but like I
Yeah.
felt like for the theme of this whole entire series, like it's not who you are underneath, but what you do that's inside. I felt
Defines
like
you.
that
Hmm.
was kind of like with great power comes great responsibility.
And
I
it
don't think
is
Batman, I don't know,
absolutely.
I don't think Batman has that, but I felt like that was that through line where, this is who Batman is,
Mm-hmm.
it's about what's inside him, not because he has money, not because he has fame and fortune and he can do whatever he wants, but like he's actually a person who's actually wanting to see his city change and be there for the good. So I felt like that's something that always stood out to me. I felt like I love that scene.
Absolutely,
It's a
I
good
love that,
scene.
absolutely.
you know.
Was it and there's a lot of good scenes. One random scene that I always like to look at is kind of when Scarecrow does his thing, like to Batman, like he goes to that little part on the Narrows and he gives a little microscope thing to Joffrey. Yes, that's right, guys. That was Joffrey from Game of
I
Thrones,
was
the little
gonna. Damn
bastard.
it! You stole my thunder.
Sorry. It'll be quicker than that, sir. Almost had it.
Sorry.
But he goes in there and then he like beats up the other guys, but then Scarecrow catches him off guard, which Scarecrow was used very well in this. The way that they
Yes.
presented him, I just wish he would have had a full costume, because he just has
I
the
like this
mask.
version of him. It
Definitely a good
grounds him
version.
more, and the fact that he has a briefcase with him, just when he affects his victims
Would you
as
like to
a
see my
scare
mask?
tactic. Dude,
Flick,
Killian
flick.
Murphy killed this. Like he was so menacing in this role, so good.
Yeah,
He
there's
just
so
looks
many satisfying
crazy.
moments in this though too. There's so many satisfying moments to this, like where everyone, even the villains, like whether it's Batman like getting back at Falcone after
Mm,
Falcone basically had the shit kicked out of him and had him kicked out of the club when he was Bruce Wayne,
that's right. Yeah,
or like even like when Falcone's like, "Hey Doc, I think you need to stop taking whatever meds your people are on." When he shows him the mask, and then like you said, like Scarecrow is just like, what did you say? He's like scary or whatever in this, or like what? How is he?
Hey,
menacing.
Menacing. Yes.
since we're on the Scarecrow thing, I'm on IMDb trivia, and basically it says Marilyn Manson,
Yep.
Christopher Eccleston, Ewan McGregor, and Jeremy Davies were considered for the
What?
role of Jonathan Crane, aka
Oh
Scarecrow.
shit.
Which I think Ewan McGregor would have been awesome too, though.
That would have been
But
interesting.
that would have been interesting too. But I mean,
Would have been. Would have
I
been.
think
Here's
Killian
another
Murphy
tidbit I
was
read too. So
good.
apparently, Nolan was fascinated with Murphy's eyes, his piercing blue eyes, as I wrote. So that's why he keeps taking his glasses off in the movie.
I could just picture the conversation. Killian. I need more. I need more.
I need more
Your
eyes. I need to
eyes.
see those gorgeous blue eyes.
It is my of expert opinion that Mr. Falcone is not faking and that he is really mentally deranged.
That scene when he brings Katie Holmes down to the basement.
Oh, that's a little terrifying to be honest. It's like
Yep.
Hannibal Lecter shit.
She runs away. He knows he has total control, and she's like,
Would you like to
"Yep."
see where we make the medicine? You perhaps you should have some. Clear your head. And she's already ran away. And then she like bangs on like the button, and then like it closes, but then it opens right up.
And there he is. Yep.
Yep, it's like a Jason thing. I'm like, damn, that's yes, yes,
Good
please,
stuff.
yes,
Yep.
yes. Um, and then at the end, I mean, when he's like riding around with the straight jacket and stuff, I'm like, that's kind of a costume, but he gets
Kind of.
dispatched so fast. He gets zapped in the face, and I'm like, wouldn't that kill him or blind him? And then ends up in the last two movies like perfectly normal. I'm like, something maybe I don't know. But I thought it was funny because it's like the imagery of him riding on the horse with the horse having like flames out of the nose and stuff. I'm like, yes, like fever dream shit, like because of that toxin. I'm like, that's awesome because
Yep.
that's the larger picture. Is like we finally seen the effects of a scarecrow toxin like done perfectly in live action. Because even when he gets a taste of his own medicine, you see in Batman with like the goo like
Coming out of
perpetually
his mouth.
out of
Yeah.
his mouth,
Oh.
like where is Ra's al Ghul? Ra's al Ghul is dead. You know, like I'm like, damn. You know, like it is nightmare fuel. It works though. It's awesome,
Yeah,
and it all contributes to it.
especially
Um,
in the game too. The game, if you ever played the Batman
Oh
Begins,
I
yeah. Yeah.
loved
The
that game.
scarecrow
That was a
levels. Yeah, for
precursor
sure.
to that.
uh,
The precursor to the greatness that was Arkham, and also there's a few Arkham like notes and stylings like musically in this movie too. I was like, listen, I'm like I stuck my head out while I was in the other room while something was playing. I'm like, that's an Arkham Asylum like reference like thing that they used or lifted to do the soundtrack or whatever. Definitely. Tumblr was badass. I fucking love all the bat gadgets.
I love and hate this vehicle.
yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Tumblr. I just feel like it's like again, we're coming from, the cars in the Batman movie, Batman Forever, Batman and
Mhm.
Robin, and obviously even to like the Batmobile
It's a
and
fucking stealth mode, guys. How can you not love this vehicle?
my thing is I get it because it's obviously it's real. In a sense it could be real in this world.
Yeah,
It's more realistic than like a Batmobile with like, having the bat symbol on the wheels and all that stuff.
true, true. And
Um
rims.
yeah, and all that stuff. I felt like it was just like too like bulky.
Yeah.
I wish
Yeah,
it could be a little bit more sleeker. I mean, I even like the fact in the actual the Batman movie, I don't know what kind of car he has, but like
yeah. It's a
something
muscle
like that
car.
would have been awesome. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
something
It
along
made
those
more
lines,
sense, really. Yeah.
which would make more sense. I don't know. I mean, I get it because he, has a shit ton of money and he can get whatever he wants.
Yep.
He's military grade type of weaponry. So I mean, like it
Yep.
makes sense. It's just I don't know. It just wasn't my Batmobile. So
My problem
Yeah.
with it is just it's so destructive. It kind of goes against what Batman's about a little
Why?
bit.
Why? Why? Bruce is just gonna cut a check and say, "Oh, this is for infrastructure. Oh, specifically this or whatever."
Okay.
now what they did with it in the Dark Knight, having it have a feature where if it gets destroyed, there's a motorcycle that
The
comes
Bat
out.
Pod. Yeah.
That
Well,
was
they
on.
were originally going to destroy it in this movie, like they did with the Wayne
Oh,
Manor. Apparently, yeah. Christopher Nolan
interesting.
said he's like originally we were intending to destroy the car at the end of the movie, but we waited until this one and we said we have to commit to it because we already did it with Wayne Manor, and again all about breaking down Batman to his like bare parts, but then giving him the Bat Pod was a little odd. I'm like, bare parts, but this Bat Pod like motorcycle thing is not typical. This is
That
not
was
like
cool.
yeah, but I thought it was kind of a cool contingency that they had in there. I guess.
Hmm.
Yeah, I like that was awesome because I was like, I don't really care for the Batmobile, so
Yep.
get rid of it.
Yep. And there's been many a time where Batman, especially in the animated series, is on the Bat bike or the Bat cycle doing his thing too.
Right.
So,
Have we talked about like any gripes yet, or no?
My only
um,
gripe was like the info dumps, pretty much.
yeah, yeah, like you were saying about, there was a shipment that's missing, Mister Earl, like randomly cutting away from the movie
Yeah, the
for shit
microwave
like that.
emitter. Yeah.
Yeah, like someone turned it on and now it's missing. Oh, it's like okay,
But very minor. What was your input
Well,
on
my,
that,
my only
Ricardo?
gripe with the movie, I felt like, and I think they addressed it in The Dark Knight, was just Gotham itself. I felt like the Gotham in the movie, I know they're kind of dealing with like kind of the lower levels of Gotham. Um, it just felt like kind of crammed in that area compared to like in The Dark Knight, where you see like it's more full of a city. It's obviously there's different parts of Gotham. I just felt like this part, the part in Gotham and Batman Begins, it just felt like kind of like it just felt too like crammed in. I felt like I was
I
looking
think I
time.
think I know why, though. I think I know why, and I agree with
Yeah,
you on that because there was more daytime scenes, and again, we're focusing strictly on Bruce and Batman
yeah,
or the characters that are like really like right next to him. We're not going to like this big parade or this big procession for the fallen officers with the 10 bell or whatever it is. We're not going to like this big press conference from Harvey Dent like in Dark Knight. We're not going in broad daylight to this freaking bank robbery that's happening, and then this bus comes
Freaking
through,
scene.
brings out, and then comes out
Mhm.
like and again, it's narrow and it's everything like this by design, but we're still getting some really interesting perspectives of the city and how it is too. I think.
Yeah.
Um, I don't. Okay, it's gonna sound really stupid, but after watching it again, I don't think I really have any gripes. And you know, I'm trying to think about what would be a low point for this or a bad point for this.
I don't have many, honestly. This is a really good movie.
Yeah, it's a
Like,
really good
honestly.
movie.
There's the way they present Batman, even with thugs and goons, like, where are you? Here. Ugh! Like shit like
It
that,
was
down to that. I
very
mean, you're like,
horror movie-esque in some parts when they use like terrorizing the bad guys, you know?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I love the scene where he takes that crooked cop and tells him, swear to me.
I swear.
Yes.
The
Yes.
origin
Yeah,
of
it's
of
like,
the voice.
yeah.
Swear
Where
to
were
me.
the other drugs
Oh,
going?
here's something I want to say. The Batman voice was fine in this movie. Like, I don't know what happened between this movie and Dark Knight, but literally in Dark Knight, everyone laughed at Batman in my theater
Well,
every single time he's on screen.
I felt like it was hard to hear him, especially
Yes.
early. I think when the movie first started with like the fake, the fake Batman dudes wearing the hockey masks and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I felt like it was kind of hard to hear him, but I
You
think
couldn't understand what the line was he was delivering, even though it was funny.
yeah, it was funny. I just felt like in this
I'm
in this
sorry, I don't
felt
speak
like I
Batman.
think it I think it made sense, obviously, the way he did the voice. In reading in IMDb, it says that Christian Bale lost his voice like 3 times because he was trying to like figure out like the Batman voice.
I can
Um,
believe it.
but I thought it made sense for Batman to talk that way because obviously you want to differentiate the two between Bruce and Batman. But I thought the voice in this was clearer to
Yes.
hear compared to obviously like he was I think he did a little bit too much in The Dark Knight.
Oh, for sure.
Not too sure about Batman
The Dark Knight
but that's
Rises.
sorry, The Dark Knight Rises. I'm not sure if that was an issue or not.
Well, it probably wasn't because the issue was Bane's voice, which they had to redub because that one clip from IMAX was like,
Brother. Brother.
I love the scene when he's saying though, he's just it's like, have I started the fire? Yes, the fire rises.
he's a little too upbeat now too.
I
Like I
love that. I
noticed
love that
that.
scene.
Like
He sounds like
he's
a
too.
chill guy.
But I will say this: jump into the other movie, The Dark Knight Rises. The best line in there was when Ben Mendelsohn is like, "I'm in charge here," and then he's like,
Do
hand
you
on hand,
Yeah.
exactly. He's like,
Do you
do you
think
feel in
money gives you
charge?"
power over me?
I feel like so.
Do you
I
feel
feel
the
like
control?
I feel like there's prongs in his mouth, and that's why he kind of talks like this. That's why he talks like that. Like, so that's
I
the only reason why I can think of that's why they did it like
I
that.
think Tom Hardy talked about it. He said he was like a mix between somebody and something else. I can't remember what he said. It was like some English actor or something like that. But that's how he
Yeah.
got the voice of it though. Even though
Yep.
obviously Bane is like supposed to be Hispanic. And
Yes, that was it.
that's why
And I
that's
Mm.
met the
really cool
creator of Bane. I met the creator of Bane, and he was like, "I'm kind of upset. Like they could have easily given this to like a Javier Bardem or something, and actually adapted it like how I wanted it." He even said he's like, "I made the mask like a luchador. In my preliminary designs, he had like an open mouth and everything, but they told him to make a full face mask and cover him." I'm like, "Oh, I never knew that." He's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "So were you a little happy that they actually did something like that for the Batman animated series?" He's like, "Yeah, definitely." And then even now when he draws it, he makes it a point to draw Bane with his like mask open. But I have to be honest, I fucking love Bane in Nightfall. I love the way his costume and his mask looks, and just because he was smart, he was a tactician, and then also he was like so powerful with the venom and everything, and the
Yeah.
way that they did him, and it works for the Dark Knight Rises and like for the
Yeah.
casual Batman Nolan fan, but if you recall Dark Knight and you grew up reading that stuff and loved that stuff, there's so much more. Like that movie could have been. This is one of those movies that I would have agreed should have been two different movies, and they could have added more mythology and everything, and explained stuff more, and added more characters in there. So before you ask Ricardo if you're going to ask that, I would say this is one of those movies that should have been two for the finale, in my opinion, for sure. But that's not the
Mm,
movie we're talking about technically.
mm,
Um,
I don't know. I don't know. I think if they did
I
do
mean,
this,
you get crippled, and then all of a sudden, some guy snaps your vertebra
now,
into spots. Like,
now what would have been cool if, let's say, they ended it the way they did, and basically, which I think would be kind of cool, is see Joseph Gordon-Levitt take over, not as Batman, but as like, let's say, Nightwing or something like that, and then
true.
eventually, let's say Bale does come back for something where Nightwing needs help. That would have been kind of cool. If they and
Yeah.
like, who knows if the door's still open or not? I don't know if it is. I think no.
Probably not.
But I think
I
it'd be kind
think
of cool just to see Joseph Gordon-Levitt come back
it
as well.
it
Does
it
come back.
it would have been cool, but I think the door is honestly closed. If you look at Joseph Gordon-Levitt's trajectory, he really hasn't been doing much movies
Yeah,
on the level that he was when he was at his peak. You
yeah,
know, like right then and there at The Dark Knight Rises and like a couple odd and end things. And I think he's kind of mellowed right now. He's like in a good spot. I don't know if he would be up for it. I sure as hell know Christian Bale's like, nah, I'm good. Like unless
yeah,
Christopher Nolan is the one to call him up, he's all set for sure.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't have too many gripes with this. I mean, if I'm really, really trying to think really hard about gripes, um,
Ra's al Ghul.
yes, aside from them calling him Roz,
I
um,
thought of another gripe. So uh, Maggie Gyllenhaal's performance in Dark Knight really annoyed me because she was just
I
annoying,
agree.
Yeah.
Yes,
and I
you
I
know
have to
think
what?
give
for
I have
like
to apologize. She's basically iterating on what Katie Holmes set up, so she's kind of annoying in this movie too. Uh,
No, I don't think she's
no,
that
yes,
annoying.
I
I don't
like
think
her. I
so.
like her in the movie. I
I,
like her.
I
not.
maybe I'm a
Well,
little booty
let me
blind, but
explain.
I
Let me
like
explain.
Kitty Holmes in this
Not her
movie.
delivery or anything like that, or just her. Not even her ideals, really. It's just
Is it because she's talking down to Bruce a lot?
that a little bit, but more like she's on the right path with what she's saying to Bruce, but it's kind of like I don't want to say bitchy, but like
Say my
just
favorite line, bitch, please.
but I don't know.
Cancelled.
It's not as bad as in Dark Knight where she's like dressing down Bruce,
Well,
but
that's
all the
yeah.
time.
So
But
that's another thing. Like, if we're gonna generate it to like the other movies, I really really don't like Maggie Gyllenhaal coming in for her. I think it would have been so much better if Rachel was still played by Katie Holmes. But I don't blame her for not coming back. I mean, what I don't know the real reason, but if you read
Scientology,
that you were, if well, exactly. I think I didn't want to go there, but I think it had something to do with like that, right?
yes,
But the problem is that if she read the script and said, "No, I'm cool with coming back. I'm not going to come back to get killed." It's basically like Stone Cold saying, "I'm not going to drop the belt to like Brock Lesnar, or I'm not going to do the job for Brock Lesnar." Fuck them. I would be the same way, but in my mind, Rachel Dawes is
why
Katie
Joe?
Holmes.
Hmm. My thing is too is that, I mean, I don't have a problem with him being talked down to or anything like that. I think if anything, it kind of I want to say it humanizes him. I wouldn't say that, but I think it's more the fact of like
Keeps him
everybody,
in check.
All
yeah,
right,
keeps him in
okay.
check. It keeps him in check, but on top of two, like you gotta remember, like this guy's a billionaire. Everybody, he's probably gonna have a shit ton of like yes men around him.
True.
You need somebody
Oh
that's
no, he doesn't. He doesn't fuck with anybody though, so he's not gonna
yeah.
have any of those people around him. He
I'm just
only
yeah,
yeah.
but I think there's not really anybody he can
Oh wait,
actually have a real conversation with.
you know what? I think I understand now. So
Yeah.
from her perspective, he's thinking he needs to get brought down to earth because he's going to have yes men that he's listening to based on how he's been acting. Then
I'm
from
not
her
even
perspective,
listening to it.
probably.
It's more the fact of like, yeah, you're never going to tell me the truth. You're never going to tell me what I need to hear, not what I want to
Right.
hear. You know,
That's what I
and I
want to hear.
think,
Right.
and that's what I think with Rachel. He has that person who, who isn't afraid to tell him the truth, and
Mm-hmm.
to bring him down to the point where like, remember who you are, remember who your parents are. It's not just because you have all this money, and like again, it's more about who you are underneath than what you do, you know, around you and everything like that. I think you need that character of Rachel, even though she may be annoying in some sense. And I thought she was
Yeah,
annoying in Dark Knight. Um,
Very.
I think in this movie for Batman Begins, I felt like I had no issues with Katie Holmes. I mean, could they have got like in a better like a better cast, like a cast actress? I think
I think
maybe.
it's all the way that it was written to, though. To be honest, so I
Oh,
don't
for
think
sure.
even if they got
Yeah, it's not
someone,
Katie Holmes' fault. No.
she would have been
Yeah,
the same thing whether she was Katie
Hmm.
Holmes or if they
Right.
had gotten Amy Smart. I think was attached at one point maybe too. if I'm remembering correctly or not misremembering. But if you're good, you know what? While we were talking, I do have a gripe right now. I do have a gripe.
What's up?
She rebuffed Batman. That bitch rejected Batman at the end of the movie. That's my issue right there.
Shay, she watched
Now I
Spider-Man
know.
2000.
Now I
I saw what
know.
happened to MJ at the end of the movie. I'm not going to be left at the cemetery. I'm
Now I
leaving you at the
know.
cemetery.
Now I know that this is your real mask and that you'll need Batman. But until that day, I won't be able to have you, Bruce. Like, if I was Bruce, I'd been like, "What, bitch? I'm right here. I am
And then this
still
man
here."
holds her hand, walking through the rubble
Yes,
to Alfred. I'm like, brother.
yes. I would have been like, "Fuck, get the fuck off me! Don't touch me. Get out of here."
I think we needed that because I mean I felt like that was
She's
obviously
not wrong though.
if she was wrong, but I think it brought about
No,
the
she's not wrong.
no,
She's
sorry,
exactly right.
yeah,
Yeah.
she was right, and I
No,
think
she's wrong. I don't care.
it
She's
brought
wrong.
upon like the second arc of the story of having well that's arc of the story, but the second film with the whole love triangle with Harvey, I think it worked, and I think
Mm.
Nolan kind of like he kind of set if you think about it, he kind of set up a lot for the next movie with the whole Joker card. Obviously, Rachel and
Yeah,
Bruce is
Yep.
like, and then I even took on top of that too, having like the mansion, Wayne Manor, like blowing
yeah.
up and going under flames. Like,
It was it was a bit of shell shock for me when they blew up Wayne Manor and stuff. I was like, and even in
yeah,
the Dark Knight, I was like, I don't like him being out of a penthouse or whatever the fuck this like light ceiling for a music video thing is.
yeah, yeah. I think it's kind of stupid, but I mean, whatever. I mean, it's
Yeah,
not that big of a deal, but also too, it's like again, I think he's trying to make it again more realistic in a sense of like, well, I don't want to keep like my costumes and everything in like in a bat cave underneath a mansion. I mean, let's try to like maybe try to
yeah.
minimize it, bring it down a little bit. Um, but but yeah, I mean that's my like I said, my only grasp was more the fact of like Gotham being like kind of like a little claustrophobic for me. And
Mm.
then obviously the Batmobile, but those are like small gripes. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Other than that, like I really have no issues with the movie. I felt like
Mm.
I think it set the tone for how comic book movies, obviously need to be,
Yeah.
especially too if you're trying to do like, and I think, and I could be wrong about this, and correct me if I'm wrong. I felt like the Amazing Spider-Man kind of took a little bit from, in a sense, took from Batman Begins or that type of like, obviously not realism, but kind of like it was more dramatic. It was obviously, there's some, misbelief in the Amazing Spider-Man, but I felt like they kind of made it more along the lines of having, realism um in a comic book movie. But correct me if I'm wrong about that.
No, I mean, I honestly, I don't have anything. I don't have any counterpoints because obviously the story is definitely more serious,
Yep.
more dramatic and everything from what we had seen before. We had some fun, although some serious moments in the Sam Raimi movies. But like from the get go, from the jump, like even when Uncle Ben gets killed, it's a lot more. There's this actual scuffle. We're seeing it happen, and there's a lot more seriousness. Like, sure, Spider Man has like these wise ass lines, but he's like has a lot more things where he's fighting with his aunt May and stuff, and yeah,
Yeah,
especially him going through all that bullshit between him and Gwen, and then all of a sudden Gwen dies, and it's like, this is how you fucking left it, man. You had so much shit that was left to be done and said,
yeah,
and then you kind of are the reason why she died,
right. And I think
even if inadvertent.
Yeah, and I think they took from a recipe because I mean, obviously, Spider-Man 3 wasn't great in my opinion. It
No.
wasn't the worst, but it wasn't great. And I felt like that's probably too. It's like, well, we see what happened with like, I'm not saying Spider-Man 3 was Batman and Robin, but it's more
Yeah,
the fact that
No,
like,
no.
hey, let's take it to a new like a serious tone. Let's do kind of do what like Batman kind of did and kind of like just go back to the original story.
devolve like Mario Brothers,
Yeah.
devolving, man.
Exactly. So, but but yeah, I think this movie out of all of them, I still think, even though the Dark Knight is obviously a lot of people's favorite, um, Batman Begins for me, having it centered around Batman. Um, Same thing too with like Man of Steel, like
Yep.
those like I always feel like the first movie is always is always the best one for some reason. Obviously I love
It's
Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 2 is probably like my favorite sequel.
mm,
For me, obviously The Dark Knight is for some other people, but like, I always feel like the origin movie or the beginning of the first movie is usually sometimes always the best for some
yeah.
in some cases. not all.
That's a good point because I was one of those people. Dark Knight's right up there with Spider-Man 2 for me. But after rewatching this, I'm like, man, this is a solid movie where I could pick apart Dark Knight. Batman's terrible in the Dark Knight. He's laughed at when the theater. It's like there's so many things to pick apart in the Dark Knight. But Heath Ledger was awesome as the Joker. So that's the real focal point of that movie.
Mm.
Once the Joker's not in it, it really has glaring issues. Gary
Hey
Oldman
guy,
still kills
hey
it,
hey guys, we're gonna take 20 minutes to focus on Debo, not detonating the whole ship for the other prisoners.
right? But
Funny thing
Or
too,
Zeus, depending on what movies you watched growing up as a kid.
yeah, in IMDb it says that Nolan considered Heath Ledger to be Batman, but both of them came to the conclusion that they felt like it wasn't really the right fit.
Well, he even considered Killian Murphy because Killian Murphy's
yep,
in that test
it's a
in the
screen test.
Batman
Yep.
and Robin outfit doing the
Yep.
screen test too.
And
Hmm.
also too, I think Josh Hartnett, I think was also somebody
Yep.
that we wanted to use, but
I think
Josh Hartnett.
Joshua Jackson too.
Yes,
Yeah,
Pacey
yeah,
was going to be
yeah.
Batman.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I couldn't see that. I couldn't see that at all.
I couldn't either. I'm
No,
like, no, not even if he's aged up.
He's a great
Like,
he's a great actor though. Like
he
don't
is. He is. Yep.
he's awesome. He's actually really awesome. He's actually a really good actor. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, I for me it's just again like I felt like this movie was just like clear cut, like a great origin film.
Hmm.
Obviously focuses on Batman. There's really no like dry parts for me. Just rewatching it. I think this is like if you want to go and say, hey, what's a trilogy movie you want to go see? And I think Batman Begins is probably like one of the best origin movies.
I think I
I think it's way better than Spider-Man. I think I
Oh
love
yeah, for sure. And Spider-Man's great.
yeah, Spider-Man is great. I just think this is like well acted, great cast,
Hmm.
funny moments. There's obviously sad moments,
Yeah. Yeah.
great action moments. I think just and a great story.
it delivers. I mean, if you're
Yeah.
gonna talk about the best Batman movie, I feel like this one has a strong case to be the best Batman
Oh, for
movie.
sure.
If you're
Absolutely.
grading it on origin, if you're grading it on how Batman is like terrifying villains, if you're grading it on the accuracy and the tone and everything, and just the way that the actors present themselves, this is like probably the first legitimate like higher end like Batman Forever was a Hollywood baby. This is like I don't know, like
Art
not an
film.
indie, like but yeah, an
Yeah.
art type film with really amazing actors that even heighten the material even more that they're given.
Yeah.
Um, One thing I did want to talk about, and again, I don't know why, but I just feel like I love it is like at the very end because we're this whole time we're like, oh, you don't mind your surroundings, or you're just rushing into this. Oh, he just rushes in and he gets the scarecrow gas, and then he has to get like inoculated and stuff. But at the very end, when he comes up with the idea of blowing up the train's track, and then it's him and Raish kind of duking it out, and he's talking about that's why you can't stop this train. Who said anything about stopping it? That was kind of like a student becomes the master moment. But then also he's like, are you prepared to do what is necessary? He's like, I won't kill you,
But I don't
but
gotta
I don't have to
save you.
save you. And then him just piecing out is just so badass,
Yeah, that
like
was
a
cool.
badass way to end the movie.
Liam's scene here is just like,
And yeah,
just
he's
he's
just
good
like
with it. Yeah.
he's like I
Yeah,
think even
I
he's like,
mean,
you
I'm thinking about it now. I mean, obviously, it's like Liam Neeson's a great. I think he's a great villain. Um, I don't think it's bad, but I think some people will probably be like, well, like the main villain or the like their fight or in a sense is kind of like whatever. Um,
This
but
is the problem with every single superhero movie.
right, but
Every great movie in the superhero genre is awesome. It's like you get the story beats, you get the origin, you get the badass fight scenes, and the problem is always the end of the movie.
mm,
Every single time.
yeah,
Spider-Man 2, great movie. Pretty stupid the way Doc Ock goes out. I'll be honest.
I like
true.
it. I mean, well, it kind
It's
of
kind of a
falls.
redeeming moment.
Yeah, it kind of
Is that
falls.
the sea or where the hell is he? Is he at the docks or is he like in the middle of the ocean? Like,
Well, it
how is
kind
he
of falls.
sinking so far?
Well,
I think.
actually, now he gets pulled from
Yeah.
that reality into the other
The
timeline with
thing
the
is,
other
like,
side.
I think it kind of follows the theme of same thing too as the first Spider-Man with with Green Goblin, basically killing himself in a sense.
Right.
So
You
I
want a
think they kind of,
satisfying fight, pretty much,
I
and we
think,
kind of don't get that.
yeah. And even too, like I mean, obviously, because Batman doesn't kill, so in a sense, like even though he
Right.
he didn't save, you know, Ra's al Ghul, he didn't save him.
He
Um,
didn't save him, but he did. He didn't unalive him, but he also didn't save him, which
I'm
made him
alive. I love that
die.
term.
Like
you
if it was Michael Keaton, he would have strapped the bomb to him and punched him through
Yeah.
like this ditch, or he would have just like grabbed
Guns.
him by the neck with his legs and dropped him down a bell tower.
Right.
throw coins up in the air, and then oh, I gotta grab my own coin.
Oh
Smashed on the rocks below.
And then miraculously catches the one coin that he was looking for.
And it's
Yeah,
on.
I mean,
Was
other
it
than
on heads or bad
no! It
heads?
was the bad part, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
yeah, it was on the bad part. But no, I mean,
Coincidence.
I thought this was fine. I mean, like it's and again, depending on who people are viewing this, if they feel like there should be like a big battle type of scene, or guy. I mean, my other favorite scene. I'm not sure if we even talked about it. We even talked about it, but like um was the whole sword fight on the ice. I
Yes.
Yeah,
thought
that was
that
cool.
was awesome. Was like what was a quote like the will
Uh,
to act. That whole
yes.
scene, I felt like that was awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
So he's trying to justify his father being killed. He's like, "You're,
yeah,
I've had training. Training is not and will never be the will to act or whatever it is."
yeah, yeah. He goes, training is nothing, and then I did like after the fact that once he said, oh, he lost his footing, and then he ends up falling in the ice. But then when they actually have like a conversation, like, and that's why you actually like, obviously, it's Ducard, but like,
Yeah.
so man, I really like this guy. Like, he's really like mentoring Bruce. Like, he's trying to
Mm-hmm.
get to know Bruce, and asking like, why didn't you like avenge your parents, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and having like a real heart to heart conversation with him. Even too, like, he talks about how he once had a child, and we find out that's Talia al Ghul.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
But it's them having that like conversation. Like, I don't know, you don't really get that in a lot of superhero movies, and I thought that like was actually like really good if you kind of go back and watch it.
Yep.
Just them having a conversation, just like kind of like bonding in a sense. I thought, and going back to Spider-Man 2, which that could be another movie we do at some point. But like Doc Ock's and Peter's like relationship was really good too as well.
Yep.
When he calls him brilliant but lazy,
Yep.
just even those conversations. I think
You
that's
beat me to it, man.
brilliant but lazy.
Very, very much
Um,
so.
but yeah, I mean, again, it's not a big gripe.
No.
I'm fine with it.
Same.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I
Batman
think
doesn't kill, so I mean, kind of it makes sense.
for sure. For
I don't
sure.
know
I
how
mean,
else you could do it to make a satisfying payoff where it takes him out and
well,
then ends.
apparently, if you're two Kryptonians fighting, you can't snap the guy's neck because then everyone's up in arms. Oh my god! Oh, we can't do that. Oh,
Superman
Superman doesn't kill,
he does not kill.
except when he kills Zod
He
in
looks
Superman 2.
awful in this movie. Oh, this looks like garbage. James Gunn's ruining DC. Oh my god.
He probably will be.
Why is he
And then,
covering his face? He's Superman. He can take it to the face.
well, I think that we're all in consensus here, but let's go around the table, if you will, and just kind of give our final thoughts on the film. Um, I'll start off. I've said it on camera, off camera, and the more and more I watch it, the more and more I feel like this is the uber Batman film, and this is this is really where love of the source material meets like a contemporary adaptation,
Mhm.
and marries it the best way because this was again resurrected a dead franchise for the movies. They
Yes.
treated it with respect. And I would say that it's even better of an adaptation than the Batman because the Batman was really good for some of the long Halloween aspects of it. But again, you don't need to go in that grungy kind of like again, the Batman was pretty good when I saw it, but I'm coming back to this movie and I'm just like, this is my Batman right here.
Yep.
This is my Batman movie right here. From the cast to the music to the way the story was to the fact that they gave us villains that we had never seen before and delivered really cool aspects of them. And then we get this story which, just like keeps your attention and mesmerizes you from start to finish. It fills in the blanks of Batman's origin in a very creative way We get another Batman movie that breaks new ground. We get a new interpretation. We go to some bold highs and lows, and it sets up perfectly the next entry that would ensue after this, and setting up therefore probably one of the best trilogies. Although every time I think about this, I think of the meme where it's the horse on fire, and then the last one I feel like I hate to be mean, but it's kind of like the stick figure horse head to me
Yeah,
because it's like
Rises is definitely the weakest movie of the three for sure.
the fire
There's some
doesn't
cool parts
rise
of
for
it though.
me.
Yeah, I
What's
think
that?
Yeah,
I was gonna say, I think because the reason why like a lot of people didn't, obviously it wasn't up to par. We got the Dark Knight, and I think obviously having the Joker, and then obviously Heath Ledger's passing, um, that kind
because
of
he was going to
destroyed.
be in the new one.
Yeah,
He was
Yeah,
the
he
third
was
one. I
going to be in the
mean,
third one.
he
Yeah,
was going to be in Dark Knight Rises. They're going to have him in there in some capacity. I think them not mentioning him or nothing about him, or not even about Heath Ledger, but obviously the Joker,
yeah, yeah.
that kind of like people like their expectations were already up at a high after seeing the Dark Knight. So like not even having Joker at all, or not even you could have even had like a jail scene or
Mentioned him.
something, like mentioned
right.
him or something. I think that kind of like
Man, I felt the same way. You have something where it's obscured his face or whatever. You
right.
just have it, or maybe you just see his green hair and he's like bowed down, like
Yeah.
some type of acknowledgement. Like maybe even if he went there and just said something to him, like even if Joker's not talking, if he just talks to the Joker, and then he needs to have that kind of moment where he talks to him to like kind of before he goes off and basically he thinks he's about to die. So maybe he could have done that like right before he did something. I don't know.
And I think too,
Um,
it's just like I think what also kind of turned, I mean, this kind of going to discussion of Dark Knight Rises a little bit, but I think what also kind of turned like a lot of people off too is that like you go from Batman Begins to the Dark Knight, but then the Dark Knight Rises, but Dark Knight Rises kind of connects more to Batman Begins. So if you kind of like did the Dark Knight Rises and as a second movie, I think it would make more sense in a sense.
True.
But obviously
Mm.
we're going to see the Joker and seeing like a realistic interpretation of the Joker entice people. And then obviously Heath Ledger's performance, I think that also kind of like, you know, people compare Bane to Joker, which, that should be the case.
No,
Because
two
it was
different
the
villains. Yeah.
case.
Yeah,
Um,
too.
but anyways, basically I think let me see my review of the movie. I think it was a great movie. I think if I had to rate it, I'd say a 5 out of 5. I like the fact that, again, Nolan brought a realism to comic book movies that we haven't seen at all because everything was mainly just cartoony vibes where you'll get like, big blockbuster action vibes. But this was like a well-acted movie. You had great cast, you had a great script, you had again material that is a comic book movie or a comic book, and to make it more realistic, that will make it feel like it was actually this could happen in our world. I think that this is like the staple of all, majority, even like, MCU movies. Like you don't get this. And I think that if we didn't have this, we wouldn't have like a serious tone to a lot of comic movies. I think this kind of made people take comic book movies and take it to a point of like, hey, this we should take them seriously. And that's, even to the Dark Knight, um, where I think Heath Ledger won best supporting actor for his portrayal of the Joker. You know, if we didn't have Batman Begins, Heath Ledger would have never got an Oscar. And people would have never taken a lot of comic books movies seriously. I mean, even too,
Mhm.
Joaquin Phoenix got a Oscar for playing the Joker. Um, and I think this is all spread from, having Christopher Nolan make Batman Begins. Um, but that's my 2 cents.
As I said earlier, this was not my favorite movie, and rewatching it did a lot of good. It is a very, very, very good movie. If I don't seem interested in this conversation, it's not because I'm not. It's just there's not much to nitpick. It's a really solid movie. Besides the expedition dumps, I mean, it's like I said when Ricardo and I were talking earlier. It's the problem with superhero movies. You got to end it somehow, and that's not the best way to do it. But hey, it's a way to do it, and it was a satisfying end to the movie. So, nah, solid movie. Great Batman origin. This is the precursor to the bad Batman Bale voice. So it's not as distracting for me. So no,
Yep.
great movie. I mean, high marks for sure. Like 5 out of 5.
Yeah, yeah. And I forget to say it, but I mean, the only reason why I'm saying 5 out of 5 is because we never got that Ben Affleck Batman movie. Probably, if we had ever gotten that, I don't know, maybe we'd have had a little bit more of a debate here going on. Because I feel like at the time and what we got, like as far as concepts and stuff, potentially could have, but it still would have been like a 4.8 on the scale for me. But it is a 5.5.
Yeah,
Honestly, rewatching and the timelessness and just the classicness of it.
Hmm.
And on the very surface level, the surround sound and the HD quality of it definitely help now too, with it being 4K and having the Dolby Atmos and everything. It
Oh
just takes
man,
it to
this
that
this
whole
thing
nother
was rumbling in
level.
my room, brother, when I
You're
was watching it
you're
yesterday.
you're right. You're right inside of the fucking tumbler as it
Yep.
speeds up, and while it's going through all the shingles on the roof and everything.
I was watching this. I'm like, man, I gotta watch more movies because this sound system's awesome.
Yes, yes, absolutely. But all in all, I think that it's safe to say that Batman Begins has withstood the test of time. It's 20 years old, and I think it's just gotten better with age. To your point, Steve, you rewatched it; it really emboldened all the
For
great
sure.
points and did kind of move up in your rankings. Honestly, the I said it like 1 million times, and I'll say it a million more. The Uber Batman film, perfect marrying of the comic book source material and adapting it to something where we had this, like you said, art house film, and it was so good how they executed it. A lot of
yeah,
fulfilling moments, laid the groundwork for a great next entry and whatnot, and what could have been a fantastic, amazing, unbeatable trilogy. Obviously, sans some mistakes made in some later entries, which we'll probably get to later on down the line. But all in all, if you haven't seen Batman Begins, go and see it now. It's on HBO Max. Get it on 4K. Get it on Blu-ray, wherever, because it is a great film. And it is one of those milestone superhero films, and it's one of those times where the bar was raised not just for them, but for Marvel and all other superhero films as well. Because without this, you're probably not getting, like you said, other superhero films along the lines of
Iron
maybe
Man.
the Winter Soldier,
hmm
or like any other ones along the lines where they raised the bar and took the stakes higher and
Mhm.
just really kind of took love and care with it. And yeah, exactly, Iron Man, because Iron Man is basically the Marvel equivalent of Batman, but with a cooler suit and mech suit as it is.
yeah.
But anyway, guys, thanks for joining us on another Movie Bros review. This time of Batman Begins for its 20th anniversary. God, I feel old. Sorry, Steve. I
Brother,
know.
who you telling? I was 30 years old when I saw this movie.
Damn. I was
15.
14, 15. Yeah, 15 seeing this
I hate
movie.
myself.
Don't hate yourself, man. Don't hate. Appreciate.
And I have the last word this time. I don't want to hear. I never want to hear any of you guys say this Batman Begins a bad movie. Never.
Emma.
Never. All right, guys. Until next time, keep your eyes peeled for the next video. Again, it's Jay, Ricardo, and Steve, and take care.